You've been planting seeds your whole life and wondering why almost nothing has grown. The teachings, the affirmations, the late-night revelations that felt like they cracked you open. Most of them died within a week. By the end of this, you'll see exactly why, because a 2,000-year-old story already mapped the 4 soils your mind keeps cycling through, and only one of them produces anything that lasts. The parable of the sower is one of the few teachings Jesus explained directly. A man scatters seed. Some falls on the path, some on rocky ground, some among thorns, some on good soil. Same seed every time. 4 wildly different harvests. The seed is the word, the idea, the assumption, the new self-concept you're trying to plant. The soils are states of consciousness. Yours, mine, the one you're sitting in right now. Most people read this parable as agricultural advice from another era. It's a diagnostic instrument. It tells you with surgical precision why the same spiritual truth lands like fire one day and evaporates the next. Same you, same words, different soil. And until you learn to read your own soil, you'll keep blaming the seed. Start with the path, the hardest ground. The seed never even penetrates. It sits exposed on the surface until something carries it away. This is the mind that hears a teaching and immediately measures it against everything it already believes, then files it under interesting and moves on. You've done this. You watched a video that should have changed your week. By dinner, you couldn't remember the main point. The ground was packed too tight for anything to root. That packing has a name in your inner world. It's the layer of automatic skepticism, the inner voice that says yes, but before the truth is finished speaking, it's compression. Years of unexamined opinions pressed down so hard that nothing new can sink in. The seed lands, and the birds. Distraction, doubt. The next notification. Take it before nightfall. So how do you break path ground? You stop trying to plant in it. You loosen it first. Loosening means questioning what you already assume is settled. It means catching the yes but before it finishes, and asking, just this once, what would I see if this were true? That single question is a plow blade. Use it enough and the path becomes workable earth. But workable isn't the same as deep, which brings you to the second soil. Rocky ground looks promising. The seed roots fast. A green shoot appears within hours. You watch a teaching and you're electric for 3 days, manifesting, journaling, walking through your life like a different person. Then something happens. A small humiliation, a delay, a piece of contradicting evidence. And the shoot withers because the roots had nowhere to go. This is the soil most spiritual seekers live in for years without realizing it. They mistake intensity for depth. The high of a new insight feels like transformation, but it's only the top layer responding. Underneath, a shelf of bedrock, old identity, old self-image, the version of you that's been running the show since you were 9. The new idea can't reach it. So when the sun comes up, and the sun always comes up, in the form of pressure, doubt, ordinary life, the green dies. Neville Goddard described this without using the word soil. He talked about the difference between wishing and assuming. Wishing flares on the surface. Assuming sinks. The assumption that you are already the person you want to be has to survive the heat of contradicting facts. That survival isn't enthusiasm. It's quieter. It's the willingness to keep occupying the new state when nothing visible supports it. The question that breaks rocky ground, am I willing to hold this when it stops feeling good? Because the moment it stops feeling good is the moment the roots either go deeper or the whole thing dies. Most people quit there. They call it disillusionment. It was just the second soil doing what the second soil does. Now, the thorns. This is the soil that fools almost everyone because nothing dramatic happens. The seed roots, the plant grows. It even looks healthy for a while, and then it gets slowly, patiently, invisibly strangled by everything else growing alongside it. The thorns are the worries, the career pressure, the relationship anxiety, the endless inventory of what could go wrong. Jesus named them directly. The cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, the desire for other things. Notice the structure. The seed has an enemy in the rest of your inner garden. The new assumption has to share soil with 70 other assumptions you've been feeding for decades, and most of those older plants have deep, ravenous root systems. You feel this whenever you try to hold a new identity for more than a week. You're calm and centered in the morning. By noon, the worry about money has used up the nutrients. By evening, the new version of you is a yellowed leaf no one's tending. You just didn't weed. Weeding, in the inner sense, is mental diet. It's noticing what you let your attention feed all day. Every conversation about how bad things are, every scroll through curated catastrophe, every replay of a slight from 3 years ago, each of these is a thorn drawing water away from the seed you actually planted. You can't grow a new self in a garden full of competing demands you refuse to prune. This is where most people push back, and the pushback deserves a real answer. You might say, my worries aren't optional. The bills are real. The diagnosis is real. The grief is real. Within this framework, weeding means refusing to feed the thorns with the imaginal axe that grow them. You can acknowledge a fact without rehearsing it 40 times a day. That rehearsal is what turns a fact into a thorn. Stop the rehearsal, and the thorn loses its grip, even while the fact remains. So now the path is broken open, the rock has been recognized, the thorns are getting cut. You arrive at the fourth soil, the one that bears fruit 30, 60, 100-fold. What is good ground, actually? Good ground is depth, persistence, and protection working together. It's a mind that has been worked, that has stopped arguing with the seed. That holds the new assumption past the point where it feels exciting and into the long quiet stretch where it feels almost boring. Because boredom, in the spiritual sense, is just the absence of resistance. You stopped fighting the idea, you started living from it. The soil is made. Every parable in this teaching tradition assumes the listener can change their own ground. You cultivated yourself into one of these states year after year, and you can cultivate yourself out. Here's the part most teachings skip. The 4 soils aren't 4 types of people. They're 4 states you cycle through, sometimes in a single afternoon. You can plant a seed in good ground at 6 in the morning and watch the same truth bounce off path at 3 in the afternoon. The work isn't to become a good soil person once and for all. The work is to notice which soil you're in right now and to do what that soil needs. If you're on the path, loosen. Ask the question that opens packed ground. What if this were true? If you're rocky, go deeper. Stop chasing the next high. Stay with one assumption past the moment it stops thrilling you. If you're full of thorns, weed. Audit what you've been feeding. Cut the inner conversation that keeps growing the things you say you don't want. And if you're standing in good ground, plant. Don't waste it. The window when the soil is ready is not permanent. Use it. There's a detail in the parable people miss. The sower scatters generously. He doesn't measure each handful, doesn't reserve his best seed for guaranteed soil. He throws it everywhere. The seed is never the bottleneck. There has always been an abundance of truth available to you. The teachings you need have been within reach your entire life. What's been missing is ground prepared to receive them. That's the uncomfortable part of this whole framework. It puts the responsibility back where it belongs. You need to do the unglamorous, daily, almost invisible work of preparing the ground inside you. Loosening, deepening, weeding. Most people won't because the work is quiet and the results show up on a delay that feels unreasonable when you're standing in the field with nothing visible yet. The seed is already in your hand. The same seed that fed every mystic, every saint, every person who ever walked out of an old life and into a new one. They received the same seed. They became different ground. So, look honestly at where you are. The actual version of you sitting with this, not the version that performs spirituality online. Which soil is dominant today? Where is the packed path? Where is the bedrock? Where are the thorns you've been politely refusing to name? The kingdom, in this tradition, is within. The field is also within, and the sower, the one casting truth into every state you pass through, is also within. You are seed and soil and sower at once. Your past failure as one role disqualifies you from none of them. Begin where you stand. Loosen one packed assumption today. Hold one new identity past the moment it stops feeling exciting. Cut one in a conversation you've been feeding for years. That's the whole parable, executed in your one ordinary afternoon. The harvest won't announce itself. It comes the way real harvests come. Slowly, then all at once, on a morning that looks identical to every morning before it, except you've become someone who finally has something to gather. The field is yours. The seed is in your hand. The ground is whatever you decide to work on before the sun goes down.